So welcome everybody. I'm Cathi Nelson, CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. I'm thrilled to have Jill Yesko here with us of Discover Organizing. And this has been something that we've been working on for quite some time. Jill, if you've been around Jill, you've ever taken a course with Jill, she's an amazing educator. She's been educating our members and professional organizers and senior move managers and lots of other people for many years now. And in one area in particular, she's always been very clear about the need for operations manuals and standard operating procedures within your business. And recently at a conference, for the virtual conference, I interviewed her about where that came from. And she told the story of her early career as a social worker and how she understood kind of putting those systems in place, because it wasn't something that was natural to me in my career. And so over the years, as I've watched members really try to run a more successful, profitable business, how critically important these are. And even in our own business, the Photo Managers, we're better than we were, but we're nowhere near where we need to be in terms of having operations in place so that if anything happened to Isabel or I, somebody could come in and quickly figure out what to do. And so Jill has put a lot of time and effort into her own operations manuals as part of her business with Discover Organizing, and we have purchased those from Jill. And so we now are the owners of these, but I do want Jill, and it's something that we make available now to our members as a way to help you get through this process, because it's a lot of work to do your own operation manual. So I'm going to turn it over to Jill, because I wanted her also to share why it's so important, even for small businesses, as a starting point. So Jill, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you, Cathi. And this kind of goes back even further. For any of you that are parents out there that have ever had kids that needed a babysitter, do you remember writing down like bedtime, 8 o'clock, and then you went, wait, I have to write down that they need a story, they need snack, they usually like a cup of water or milk next to their bed. Oh, wait, and then we have to make sure the night lights turned on in the hall, as well as, remember, like all the little like things. It isn't just bedtime 8:30. For us, it's bedtime 8:30, right? But for someone that you have to teach or tell when you're not present, it becomes a little more complicated and more detail driven. And I don't mean to give such a rudimentary example, but that's sort of how a lot of these things started in my brain. Also at Discover Organizing, the company I've had now for 21 years, one of the things we always say is, did you make a mistake? Well, yeah, well, write it down. We got to learn from it. And we've been doing that forever. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I don't walk around in a state of perfectionism in my business practices. I don't do anything perfectly. I just do it as best as I can, but I have my operating procedures to support me. And those operating procedures have molded over time into what they are today. And I travel a lot. I have a life now with my husband that I didn't have before, because I have these operating procedures in place that my team can, with a click of a button, go to the table of contents, click on the word that they're looking for, the topic that they're looking for, whether it be how to camera scan, how to take a payment for a customer, how to do an album making questionnaire. It's all there. It's in the index, and then all the instructions are there. So I don't necessarily have to sit with everyone. I do always do an initial training. I always do hands-on training. But after a while, you got to knock the training wheels off on people that are working for you. So we're going to get into more details, but I can definitely say that I am not working in the day-to-day business of my business anymore. I'm enjoying the projects I get. If I get a photo album to make, I get so excited because I'm cherry picking the jobs that I want to do. I don't have to do everything because I'm the only one that knows how to do it. I have 12 employees and they're all very independent. I barely speak to them, but they are the wind beneath my wings for sure. So I just want to kind of get into how we got there a little bit, and why, it's so important to have something, right? And this is what we always think about when we think of operations manuals. It's the thing we throw away that comes with the washer dryer. It's the book that comes with our big appliances. our electronics, and we're like, yeah, we can just Google it later. We can YouTube it. We'll figure it out, right? We do that. I've done it because I'm like, well, this is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. I know what I'm doing, you know. I know how to talk to customers. I know how to use QuickBooks or HoneyBook or 17 Hats or whatever CRM you're using. I know how to take pictures out of a photo album, well, we assume that the book that we're about to, hopefully you purchase these from the photo managers and they make your life easier, which is what they're designed to do. But also I hope it sort of feels a little bit like this. This is what it is supposed to feel like. The standard operating procedure is supposed to be like Mr. Rogers sitting with you and saying, it might be uncomfortable when a client calls you to complain about the estimate. This is what you do about it, right? So I'm a big believer in, upfront education with my clients. Having operations manuals aren't just about, subsection A, paragraph B, line A, form B, right? That's not what these are about. These are about sort of, Mr. Rogers stepping into your office saying, let me help you with that. Let me just be that warm hug or, different sweater, or this is how we're going to walk through this experience together, and getting you ready in the front end of things, not in the reaction phase. I know as a young business owner, I was always in reaction mode because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I thought I did. I came from an HR background at a psychiatric hospital. I was an HR director. I was on top of my game, really great with clerical information, payroll, HR, workers' comp. I knew all of that stuff. And then before that, I was in social work and social work administration. So I, kind of going backwards to the place where I had to remember, like, really start at the beginning. I didn't have anybody to call to say, what do we do about this client? I had to like look in the mirror and ask myself, like, what do we do about this client? Or how do I handle because I've been organizing photos since the beginning. So in 2003, someone called me and said, I have a bunch of pictures. I need you to put them into a photo book, and I want them organized into shoe boxes first. I was like, okay. And then I'm like, I know how to do that. But then I started hiring, and my employees were like, well, how do you want me to do this? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me get my notebook. So that notebook has turned into, the operations manuals that we have today. This is Nathan and I. He is my son. He and I developed our consulting company called Ops Driven, which is the, kind of the brains behind the operations manuals. We have sold these to the photo managers. We're really excited about that. As well as all of the supporting documents, but we have also sold them to NASM, which is the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and they have rebranded it as their NASM Navigator. So we really are very passionate about the details, and hopefully that shows. But why do you need one? Why do you need one as a photo manager? I want you to think about the experience when you walk into a Starbucks. You're going to get waited on as soon as possible. Sometimes if there's a big line, someone will come out with a device, like, and take your order, get something started for you. Customer service is key to them. Also, the repeatable experience. You're going to get your drink right every time, or they're going to remake it. They might get your name wrong on the cup, okay? But they will. They have a very well-oiled machine, and we want to get you to the place where you also have a very well-oiled machine, and maybe get into automation, right? I worked with the masterclass group with the photo managers for the past 2 years, and teaching them about systems and automation and how that can be time-saving, but also can help you scale your business. Well, you can't do any of that without operations, without documented workflows. So either you're writing them or a team member is writing them, a consultant is writing them. But they have to exist one way or the other. So if you have to rescan multiple pictures, that's just an example I have here on the slide, before the next step in Lightroom, do you have all your settings written down somewhere? So if I have to come and help you, you got a big order in, how do I know, what do I do? Do you have to show me everything all the time? Or do I just go to your cheat sheets that are inside your ops manuals? And the thing about these kits that Cathi has provided for you is that there are forms for just about everything, but they're fully customizable. So if you say, well, I do it mostly this way, but I do it a little bit differently, then you basically can just insert your way. It's a Word document. So you can just insert your way into that particular category or task. So just remember, I'm 55 years old. I'm not saying that, to the point where I'm starting to have major memory loss. That's coming, I'm sure. But what I feel sometimes is I get a little fuzzy on processes I don't do every day. If I get weird requests, I get something that's out of the blue, some type of special, negative or a slide, something that I don't do negatives and slides every day. And if I have a team member that's out sick and I have a deadline because there's a funeral coming up and we've got a legacy order or something, I need to be able to go very quickly, open the book, right? And go, okay, this is how I do this. I click on this, I turn this on, I line this up this way. I do tether capture. Okay, I got it. And I run through it a couple of times and I don't need anyone there with me. And that is sort of one of the beauties of having documented workflows. The thing about operations manuals is they always answer the most important questions about your business. And that is, how does your photo organizing business do X, right? How does it operate? We certainly want to always know about who you are and how you founded the company, because you're all founders and you're all amazing and you work so hard. I see all of the work that you're doing. I watch from afar, from here in Pittsburgh. I watch the Facebook groups. I go to virtual conference. I go to the live conference. I do teaching. I'm really, kind of enmeshed in this community. And I really do see how hard everyone is working, and everyone is looking for help and support and sharing their stories. And in a recent masterclass that I was teaching, I made some of our group, well, all of our group did a very uncomfortable thing. We had been talking, for months, right? We'd all been engaged in Zoom. We'd all been engaged in activities and projects and homework and assignments, and it all was culminating into this one day before the conference began. So we have a masterclass day, and my co-coaches Darla and Caroline were doing their coaching, which was a lot of their activities were sharing of ideas, and we certainly did that together as a collaborative. But then it was my turn to teach my module, and I made everybody do the thing they didn't want to do. They had to sit for a whole hour and improve a process in writing. They all had their laptops with them, but they knew it was kind of coming, but they didn't know what the hour was going to look like. And at the end of the hour, and I had to go around the room a couple of times because there were some people talking in class. And I was like, this is about you and your business. This is not a sharing practice right now. This is not a sharing activity. And they had to sit for 1 hour and improve a process that they knew had gaps in it, that they knew that it wasn't working well enough in their business. And at the end, they were like, we did not like that. But they opened their laptop and they scrolled and they're like, look how many pages I wrote. Look how many processes I put in place. Look what I took and improved upon. And a couple of the people that were in that class had already purchased, the manuals when I was selling them. And so they were able to open it up and just kind of make some changes that did save them some time. They were ahead of the game, but they were so irritated at first. And then they all went, the light bulb started popping, and they're like, so if I just did this for an hour a week and I spend an hour on my business every week, improving my processes, improving my systems, I said, you'd have, take away a couple of vacation weeks. Let's just say you'd have 50 hours that you gave your business on a consistent, repeatable, habitual process way. And wouldn't that be something? And a lot of them have shared with me, offline, that they have committed to doing that, and it's making a big difference. And sometimes that's all we need to do. So really what you want to think about as a business person is reducing your risk. So, what do you do if? How do you handle this? And a lot of us learn from our own mistakes a lot of times. Maybe we handled an estimate poorly. Maybe we didn't really ask them to see everything, or maybe we didn't factor in all of the things that appear after an estimate and how scope creep happens, right? Or how do you handle someone that says, can I pay you this way? Can I pay credit card half and then cash the other half? Or lots of scenarios that happen that can be unexpected. And what you want to try to do with writing down your operations is, you can't predict everything, but at least, again, if you educate your clients up front, this is how I take payment. This is how I handle credit card fees. This is how I deliver my estimates. And this is what I need from you. I need, if we're going to be doing a family album, I'm going to need you to fill out this family tree form, and I'm going to need it back by this date in order for us to start our project. These are the things that we need to be communicating to our clients. And on the back office piece, talking about avoiding risk on, how are you insured? And I'm going to get into a slide a little bit later about that. And I have taught, I know probably in the vault somewhere with the photo managers, I have taught an entire insurance class. So hopefully that is still in the vault somewhere. But that has kind of everything you need to know about insuring your business as a photo organizer. There's a lot of hidden risks there that I need you to take that seriously. And I'm sure some of you are cyber insured at this point. Hopefully all of you are cyber insured if you're doing digital photo organizing. But having even like a cheat sheet of, this is my insurance agent, this is my policy number. If I have employees, this is my workers' comp insurance number. If I have business liability, this is my, who do I call? That has to be on your cheat sheet of, everything about your business. And that's the kind of stuff that should be on the front page of your operations manual in your business. The other great thing, like I just mentioned earlier, operations help you to train other people. If you're onboarding, do you have an onboarding checklist? Is it covering everything? Every form, every new hire form that's required in your state? Does it have, how you bring someone on? What does the first day of their employment look like? Or if they're an independent contractor, how do you onboard an independent contractor? How do you build that relationship so that person can help you fill in gaps of, where you have so much work, you don't know what to do. You don't want to push people off another month. So how do you manage that relationship? That's in the operations manual, right? And if you have teams that are out there, if you have I have 12, I know I do more things than photo organizing. I have a move management business, so that feeds a lot of my referrals. And by the way, as a little marketing tip, get to know as many senior move managers as you can, and people in 55 plus senior communities that are looking for activities and classes, because that is a really great way to have just business pouring in your door. Because a lot of senior move managers do not want to touch photos. Professional organizers don't usually want to touch photos. It's a very small percentage of people that want to get into that level of detail, like yourselves. So anyway, so if you do have a team, if you have more than one person on your payroll or in your that you're paying as an independent contractor, that's your team. That's your team. It doesn't have to be an employee. So any team decisions that are made on the fly usually have consequences, and they're not good consequences. You do not want your team kind of guessing they're in the middle of a client assessment and somebody pitches a question at them, you're in a meeting or you're with a client or you've gone dark doing a photo project and you have do not disturb on your phone and they're out in the field and they're like, I do not know what to do because this is something I don't know. Well, when you have an operations manual and you've trained your team to be using that as their core guide of how to handle client situations, as well as questions about money, questions about the project itself, maybe even questions about how to handle photos safely. You've got that all written down and you've trained them. And if they don't remember, they can pull it up right on their phone. The operations manual can be on their phone. It's very easy to have a lot of these things at their fingertips. You can deliver it to them however you want, but having documented policies backs you up. What if a client pushes back and be like, this is our policy here. It's right here. It's right here in writing. And you signed it 3 months ago. So if you have those policies backing you up, you kind of just take that stress and pressure off of them to come up with something on the fly. You don't want them doing that, especially when you're the one that is going to have to be ultimately responsible. A lot of times I talk to people and I was guilty of this for, a while in the beginning. Is I heard a lot that, you know, where do you keep all your policies and procedures? And they're like, it's right up here, right in the steel trap. And I'm like, well, that's not good. And they're like, I know. So, a lot of the times we hold all of the things that we know how to do really well, right up here in our brains, but we're not getting them downloaded. So, really truly, how fast can you share? If I asked you right now, how do you do X? How do you do Y? How quickly could you explain it in a way that would make sense to me? Right? One of the things that we've been doing to complement our own operations is we've been making looms. We make them for our clients. That's just part of our process. Is we make looms on the client's computer at their house, showing them how to use their new photo organizing system, whatever that is, in their homes or in their, in their own residential, offices. And that seems to help, making little cheat sheets, digital cheat sheets like that. But that's kind of where all this came from for me. Is my clients would say, well, after you leave, how am I going to know how to do this? And we always would make a notebook for them. And I'd take screenshots and print them out and we'd staple them, or we'd put them inside of, a photo album, like from the drugstore, like, let's make you a photo album of your operations of how to do. We would just be very creative about making them a very customized, this is how you manage your photos if I'm not in the room, right? And so, if you guys have operations that are working really well for your business, imagine how you could transfer those skills and that knowledge to helping your clients become more empowered, free up their time, right? So this has like that pebble in a pond effect. The more the less time that you have to like really keep writing everything down for yourself to remember, the more you can have time for yourself, right? So wouldn't you want to give your clients that same experience, right? So that's what, the photo managers have done, right? They've downloaded your brain for you for the most part, right? We don't know exactly how what CRM you use. We don't know exactly, if you're using QuickBooks or you're using a different method to deliver invoices. We don't know that particular, but we do have best practices and you can always fill in the blank, right? So we have downloaded most of that entrepreneur's photo manager's brain for you right into the manuals. And why are the details so important? Why does the barista at Starbucks know how important it is to get that coffee order read back to him or her, to how to use the equipment, how do you work the machine, how do you clean the machine? All those things are really important. But again, why are they important to you? Let's take a look really quickly at a client onboarding experience from two different perspectives. One example is the very first simple process. A lead calls your work phone, leaves a message saying they heard about you from a client of yours who loved your services. They're like, oh my God, she did such a great job for me, or he made the most beautiful legacy video for me. Or for my sister, I want him to make one for me. Okay, so you get the idea. They're in love with you. They can't wait to work with you. They've heard great things about you. And here's just a simple 5-step process. It probably works for some of you. Calling the person back, asking them about their project and needs. This is probably very easy for most of you to just say, yeah, this is what I do. I explain my services. I ask them if they have any questions. We book an initial consult and we end the call. It's pretty simple. But is it really? And if you were training me, on how to do that, with that, oops, sorry about that. I did a pre-recorded slide because I wasn't sure if my plane was going to make it last night. So I did some recordings. So this one, I wanted to get you an idea of a more detailed workflow. So this is what I might hear if you or watch if you were training me and you were sitting down next to me, next to the phone, and you're like, okay, let's open the computer. We're going to open our CRM platform. We're going to locate the lead information before we call this person back. We're going to, we're going to put this person's information in as much as we can. And then we're going to call the client. We're going to have our computer open. And we're going to ask them more about our services. We're going to ask them if it's a good time to talk. Maybe there's a phone script. We always have phone scripts, by the way, in our ops manual and at Discover Organizing, as well as the one that you would potentially be purchasing. But it would say, these are the things that you want to explain over the phone so that you don't forget anything. Like, how did you hear about me? What times of day do you normally like to work? And asking the client these questions really opens up a great dialogue instead of just you talking the whole time about how your services work, right? You want to hear from the client, like, tell me more about you. Tell me more about your project. So that's really in step 2. Step 3 is after they've finished explaining their project, then you're going to explain how your services will meet their needs, because now you've listened to their needs. So as you can see, this is a much more detailed approach than the last slide, which was those simple 5 steps. Well, now we just want to always dig a little bit more down into the process whenever we're doing operations workflow documentation. So this is the steps, right? Then you're going to offer to send an agreement to their email. Sure, that would be fine. And I also want to throw in a tip sheet about maybe summer photos and vacation photos. Would that be okay? Yeah, sure, that'd be great. So now you're saying, I'm not only going to send you an agreement, but I'm going to send you more information about my expertise and something that's a freebie that's going to help you know that I care about your success and also give you some more free information. And I'm just chock full of good information because I'm your photo manager. And I'm going to set the tone for this relationship right now by giving you, some of that icing on this cake of our relationship. So then 5 is you're going to schedule the initial assessment on your calendar. You're going to make sure everything's updated in the CRM and you're going to follow through. And then you're really finished with that initial onboarding experience. I said initial onboarding experience. There's obviously a lot more to come, right? We have to get the person to stay with us and to work with us. And the onboarding experience is key. So this is the time where we're going to be doing that initial assessment in their home. We're going to be maybe collecting some photos to take back with us. All of those things have to be documented in terms of how you're going to do that and how you're going to transport those items safely. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay. Apologize for that. Spring allergies are upon us. And so here's another example. You just got a great new client who wants you to do the whole thing. I want you to organize my photos. I want you to scan the entire collection. I want you to then make some photo albums for me. My photos are everywhere. They're in my phone, they're in my computer. I have some of those SD cards. I have some USBs from family reunions. And then my uncle just passed away, and I have like a ton of his photo albums. He traveled all over the world, and I want to make a condensed album of his life. Okay, you've heard it all before, right? You've heard this call come in. And while you might have some basic framework on how you're going to proceed with such a massive project, do you have an intake form for all of the items you are taking custody of? Do you have a photo album questionnaire, a very detailed 3 or 4 page album questionnaire, so that we know how the book is really supposed to look and how much it's probably going to cost them for printing an extra flair? A photo plan template. Do you have like an actual template that you can fill in that covers all the bases, that covers you, that makes sure that you're communicating appropriately with your client, right? And if they increase the scope of the project, do you have a form for that? Because we do. It's called the scope change form, and they absolutely have to sign off on it. Sometimes on our custody form, what we'll do is we have another column, and in that custody form, we'll say, we're adding more or taking some away. We actually sometimes, if we have large collections, we have a whole process on making sure we note the address of where the things are located in something in our spreadsheet. So we say, well, this is now at their house, and these boxes of slides are at our office, so that we always know the location of the items that are on our custody form. And all of those things are part of our packet. So also the proper insurance. Do you have the proper insurance for what you're about to do, like your custody of photos or, client belongings? Catastrophe insurance, in case there's a flood at your office. What about cyber insurance? What about transportation of goods? Do you have all of that covered in your insurance policy? Here's another one. How do you scan slides? I always liken this to like, how do you brush your teeth? Well, brushing your teeth is something you do every day. Well, I don't scan slides every day of my life. My team probably does it once a week. But if you ask me, because I'm, running a company and I have a lot of things to do, I probably don't scan slides all that often. But, just as we always joke and say, well, there's actually 27 steps to brushing your teeth, there's probably 130 to scanning a slide, because now we're dealing with technical equipment and settings and, the color wheel, and what are we doing with this and what are we doing with that? There's so many steps to even prepare to scan a slide, let alone the actual act of scanning a slide. And these are the things I'm talking about. How do you do something so that if I can come in and learn from you, I can learn from you pretty quickly and get up to speed in a day or two? And the reason why a lot of these things are important too is the faster, the faster you go, and your team goes, because they're learning a repeatable process, your profit margins are going to get bigger because the speed's going to be faster. And if you're not speed testing yourself or your team now, I would start doing that. So, does your team know what to do in case of emergency? I don't mean just a 911 when they're out with a client. I mean, what do you do when there's the threat of a flood or a fire, or if there is a situation like, I'm sure all of you are like, well, I've had this happen, I've had that happen. We have a total like emergency procedure and plan inside the manual as well. So there aren't just medical emergencies. There's emergencies that relate to, phones shutting down, acts of God, things that just occur that we need to have a backup plan. I mean, when COVID struck, our team had an emergency plan. Was it foolproof? Was it perfect? No. But we had something in place to know that if there was a case where our office needed to shut down in case of an emergency, and that was a pretty big emergency, we had written down what our team would do. And we went into effect. We had maybe 2 hours notice when our county decided to just shut down all offices for COVID. And we're threatening that if they saw any small businesses that weren't necessary businesses in operation, they would do citations, and it was very threatening and very scary. And so we all acted according to the plan. We each grabbed a piece of photo equipment, whatever it was in the office. Everybody on the photo team, because not everybody that works for me is on the photo team, but everybody that was on the photo team grabbed a piece of equipment that they were expert in. They brought it home, they hooked it up to our laptops, and we finished a really big project for 84 Lumber, and we're still able to survive throughout the COVID, the initial months of COVID and shutdowns, until we were able to bring people off of furlough and bring some other team members back. But that's what an emergency plan would cover. Like, what do you do if you can't do what you do normally every day? How would you survive? What would you do financially? And these are the things you need to think about and put in an operations manual. Good operations totally protect your business for the reasons I've stated before, but also just cover you. If you have a policy in place that you can show a client that they have already acknowledged on a service agreement, you are covered. It might still feel weird, right, to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone, to kind of slip a piece of paper in front of them and say, we talked about this, you agreed to this, right? But better than them coming after you in a legal way and saying, well, they never told me that it would cost this much to scan. They never told me that an album printing would be X $100, right? Well, yeah, we did, and you signed it. So it's very good to have all of these things in place to protect you. Also, in terms of protection, we have a NAS, our server backs up everything we have. Do you have that documented on how you protect your clients' photos, how you protect their financial information? Do you have something in writing on how you store photos and for how long after a project is completed? Do you have that in writing? Does the client know how long you store the photos after a project? Also, great operations create and enhance client satisfaction. So nice to have a happy customer, someone that comes back to you time and time again and creates that family around your business. So their cousins are using you, their sister, their daughter, a baby's coming into the world, and they've told the mother to be that make sure that you call, Jill, because she's going to help you, especially in that first year, curate the best photos of baby. And she can even send pictures to Miller's to get printed and framed. And there's so many great, vendors that she knows that really work hard. She can load up a whole Nix Play cloud frame for grandma and grandpa, and you can just send photos right to it. She'll teach you how to do everything. So the more you have a thriving, running, kind of smooth operations, you're going to be able to spend more time in marketing and customer relations and not having any disappointed customers. Because if you disappoint a customer, guess what? They start winding down and stop using you, right? And it just feels bad. So the more we present ourselves like a professional, well-run company that sticks to its boundaries in terms of its hourly rates, and we don't say, oh, it's okay, I'll do that for you for free, I'll just throw that in, you've been a customer. No. You're a business that needs to make money. More people do respect those that have, the financial boundaries of expectations around what you will pay them, how you will pay them, when you will pay them. That all needs to be something you decide first as a business owner, and then share with your clients in writing. And ops will definitely help you grow and scale your business. Is there a course that you guys want to write, that you want to market, where it can be evergreen and you can make money in your sleep? Good operations and good documented workflows help you do that. If someday you want to, have big teams of just photo technicians and scanners and people, producing albums for you, make this as turnkey as possible for the future. I'm starting to have exit strategy conversations with myself. Like, I am about to be a grandma. I want to travel with my husband more. I want to work on my nonprofit. There's so many things I was thinking, I need to start coming up with an exit strategy. And my husband is like nodding his head, like, yes, you do. because life has changed for me. And life might be changing for some of you, but what if you created and sculpted a business that could be purchased by somebody that is as passionate about photos as you are, but doesn't want to create it from the beginning, that just wants to buy your book of clients, that wants to give you money and say, where's your operations manual? You'll be like, I don't have one, but I will tell you everything. And they'll be like, no, thanks. I need to be able to have it be turnkey. Just like a franchise would need to sell a new location. They can't just assume, well, they can't assume anything. Somebody coming in to buy your business and to take your book of business and your clients will need to know how you do everything, would probably want to keep employees that you have and just keep the churn and the profits going. So remember, the less you have to recreate systems, the faster your business is going to run, and the faster your business runs, much wider your profit margins get. So, think about the Cracker Jack box. I had to look really, really dig down for this photo. I found it from Reddit, from The Way We Were, and it's a Cracker Jack box. And if anybody remembers actual things inside of a Cracker Jack box, like I do, I was very excited. Now they just give like stickers and fake tattoos or something. I don't know. Jokes. Sometimes you get jokes. I don't know. You peel back and it's just, the experience is very different. So I want to take us back to this moment where if you guys do end up purchasing these operations manuals, I want it to feel like that feeling you had when you bought a Cracker Jack box and there was actually something really unique and interesting and just really for you inside. And that's supposed to be, kind of what it feels like. And at this moment, I sort of want to go into the website and see if I can show this to you guys. I know Kathy's going to come on and talk a little bit more about these three. I guess I can, just talk about these three bundles that we've created that I believe will, you can certainly get all three. But some of you that may not be ready to hire yet, or may not be ready to build teams, some of these might not be for you yet, which is why we've split them out. And the business, sort of that back office business piece where you're dealing with, processing agreements for credit cards. Maybe you have, a good faith estimate agreement that you need, client communication, just really how to run, the financial side of things. The important side of things, by the way, is, definitely there, running from the very first initial, sales call to the project being delivered. That is definitely covered in the back-end operations bundle. But also, I think the most popular bundle, if anyone's going to say, well, where do I begin? I would say the work essentials operations bundle is definitely if I were sitting at a booth right now and you guys were coming up to my table and I had this in a binder, I would want to show you this first. And the table of contents for each one of these is available on the website. I wanted to kind of take you over there and hopefully you guys can see this. And what I like about the way they structured this, I think they did a better job than we did on our own website about this, is that you can click to view each table of contents, which I think is critical. And once you download it, once you buy it, once you click on one of these words, it will take you directly to that part of the manual because it's a Word document with headers that are built in to be clickable and take you directly where you need to go so you don't have to do the scrolling. And I would say the most important thing to remember about this is that you have the physical photo organizing guidelines, procedures, digital photo organizing, photo digitization, right? Which is the scanning and stuff. And then the photo album making, and then of course, photo restoration, if any of you are into that, but we've included that. And we always tell you how to use the manual. And I think a lot of people breeze by that. Just think about like all of the, the manuals that you get, like I said, in the beginning of the presentation, like for your washer and dryer, you kind of go, I know how to use a manual, thanks. But I think you really should read that section. It is a navigational tool for you to understand how to use it so that you get the most out of it. A lot of people would, you know, buy this and then they'd call us like 6 months later saying, I didn't even open it. I was so overwhelmed. And I'm like, did you read how to use this? And they're like, no. And then I said, read that and then call me back. And then they would call and say, I don't need you anymore. Thank you. They just needed to take that moment to read that piece. So we get into sort of the nitty gritty of how to do certain, you know, pieces of the process. And this is great for if you are bringing people on like independent contractors, or you need a second person in your office just to help you. Certainly show them how to do everything, but having these things in place that you customize, because remember, this is white labeled for you. You change this to say your company name, you put your company logo in there, and just kind of rebrand it according to your needs. There may be things in here that you don't necessarily use, and maybe you don't necessarily have, but you can go into each one of these bundles and kind of see like, what is the most important thing for me to customize or to systemize rather right now? What is the most important place for me to start? And I know that we have, Isabel is going to show a slide now about the discount. There is a discount that is available to photo managers members.
Yeah, so just so I wanted Jill to come, and this is great, Jill. You did such an amazing job of walking through the reasons why. That was awesome. It panicked me, and I said to Isabel, we've got some work to do on our end as well with our operations. But this is we do have a 10% off right now. It ends tomorrow, and then we are, and Isabel is busy behind the scenes. I don't know if she's finished it yet, but we have also broken out all the forms so that you can purchase those individually as well if you just want one piece of it, which is taking her a lot longer than she thought. So she said, I don't know, she'll let us know quickly if she's done. And it'll be on the website as well. So that, I just want to make sure that you all had access to that. That's the code you want to use, OpsCon24, because we had this at the conference. And at the same time, let's see if, do we have any questions?
And that's what I was looking to see.
Isabel will be done in 10 minutes. She has been actively working on getting all that done. She had a lot more work than she thought, because there are quite a few different forms and things like that. So I think the bundle probably makes more sense, but depending on your budget, and if you want to just start with one thing at a time, then that's okay. Is there a savings for bundling just 2 kits together? No, we do not have a bundle for just 2 kits together. Would have to look at that, but I think right now it wouldn't be anything more than the 10% than you probably have. I don't know, Jill, I guess you'd have to think about what is it that you want from each of these bundles?
Yeah, the work, those two together are nice to have together. There's a tiny slight overlap, but we did that by design because there are elements that have to be in both. But honestly, most of the people, when I was selling them at the booth at the conferences, they would just buy all 3 because they have to work with independent contractors, and that's the piece that's inside the team building. So like all the job descriptions, like if you want to bring somebody on as just a photo scanning technician, there's a job description, a performance evaluation, onboarding checklists, very detailed onboarding checklists for that as well. And professional photo organizer, album designer, graphic designer, job descriptions and independent contractor agreements, photo restoration specialist, like that's all in there as well. Yeah, thanks, Kathy.
Now I just pulled up, now you're seeing Isabel just said she finished it. So you're seeing a la carte forms, right? And templates?
Yes.
Yeah, so here, she said she hasn't added the photos to make it pretty yet, but here's an example too where you can just purchase one or 2. The deal is going to be obviously in the bundle, but we do have these as
so that's a good, if you could scroll down to the bottom a little bit. Thank you. Just so you can see there is a new hire orientation and training checklist, because you want to be compliant. You want to make sure you're checking all those boxes when you're bringing somebody new on. And you know, just getting into album designers, we call it lead professional. That's like the project manager. Obviously this is a Word document. You can change the title. You can make it however you call that person, but the description, the job description is still basically the same. So you can say, well, I want to have my photo organizer also do album design. Okay, well then just cut and paste, put both of them together in the same Word document, change the title, but at least they'll be compliant job descriptions. And we even get into safety descriptions on what they will be required to do with their hands and repetitive motions, and that safety, that we need to supply our employees with those glasses that block the blue light, right? We make them available at every workstation, because they are going to be straining their eyes, and you have to be thinking about those types of things. How to, take breaks and things like that. But your job description includes those safety provisions, and making somebody that's coming on board aware that they're going to be sitting for 6 to 8 hours a day if they're full-time, or they're going to be sitting for the entire completion. If they're camera scanning, they're going to be combining standing and sitting. So these are the things that are included, or those kind of safety provisions as well.
All right. No, and no more questions. I mean, I think, Jill, you've done a great job explaining it. So for those of you that are, if you're ready now, they're obviously ready at a different point in time in your business. Maybe now is too soon, but you know that they're there. It's been something that we've wanted to do for a really long time. It's obviously you can do your own operations manuals and create your own, but for those, like Jill said, it is hard to find the time to do that. So now it's been done for you. And there's nobody better that I would have made the commitment to team up with and purchase, at our expense, actually, to be able to provide this to you than Jill, because I know she's done this for a long time, and it's the material is excellent and well thought out. And we are not personally photo organizers, so the photo managers ourselves could never really create this for you, because we're not doing the work that you are all doing in the field. So if there's no more questions, no questions at all, we'll so again, last of all, it's OpsCon 24, save 10%, but they'll be there when you're ready, and whatever it is that you need in your business. So thank you so much, Jill, for your time. Thank you, everybody that was here today.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. I appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.